Hello and welcome to this evening's TF Together session. We're delighted to welcome Sara, Amrhein and Anna Rose, the founders of Creative People in Florence. We're going to discuss their ongoing projects. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us. It's so exciting to hear about all your recent activity, which has just been so incredible, really. You've been immersed in lockdown with so many ambitious projects that have been wonderful to witness from an outsider perspective. So it's great to hear about those.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Perhaps we could just start with who you are and what you're doing before we lead into Creative People in Florence and how that was formed. So Sara, would you like to begin?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Sara Amrhein. I've been living in Florence for about 20 years now. I came as a student, did a study abroad. I am a jewelry designer, jewelry artist. I work primarily in polymer clay, although I'm working on maybe a transition right now. We'll see. When coming to Florence, I just really wanted to be part of the local creative community, and that's where it all began. So.
Thank you. And perhaps Anna, then you could give us a brief introduction.
Sure. My name is Anna Rose, and I have been living in Florence since 2004. And I also came as a student with the idea of spending a year here between college and grad school. And luckily, Florence helped me change course and helped me realize what it was that I really wanted to be focusing on. And now I work as a visual artist, primarily in installation, video, and photography.
Wonderful. So different areas, but you've combined to form Creative People in Florence. How and why?
Well, I think that when Anna and I met each other, there was really something that clicked between us. And we had a lot of the same ideas about what we were looking for and what we wanted to do as far as a community was concerned. And that was really about promoting the contemporary arts here, because we both noticed, those many years ago, that there wasn't a lot of contemporary work going on in Florence. It wasn't predominant. So we really wanted to focus on that and show all of the great work that was happening here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can add to that by saying that, as practicing artists ourselves, at about 10 years ago when Sara and I did meet and get things kicked off with Creative People in Florence, we were both at points in our developing art careers where we were becoming increasingly aware that we as artists needed a community of artists around us. And for those of you who are here with us today who do have a creative practice, I think you can relate to that. And we had both been living here at that point for several years, more than several years, but still hadn't really found how to put down our own creative roots. So Creative People in Florence was really built around this idea of community and supporting each other.
Yeah. And it was also a lot about skills sharing in the beginning. We were at those beginning stages of our careers, and we really we wanted to share our skills with others in the creative community and exchange that and help each other grow professionally without having to go out and put a lot of money, I guess would be the easiest way to say that, into developing portfolios and everything that went into it.
And I think what's possibly unique about Creative People in Florence is just the level of how international it is. It really is something that's reaching into the Italian community as well, you mentioned, and this is crossing all spheres of the arts, the contemporary arts, I suppose, especially. And you've seen your Facebook group grow to, the last count I saw was 6,300 members, which is possibly even higher since, but it must be very satisfying to see that this endeavor has been successful, I guess. I mean, oftentimes we get great concepts, great ideas, but the realization can be the harder part. So how did you get there? How did you get to 6,300?
Go ahead, Anna.
Well, I can say that, and I'm sure that Sara will have something to add to this, but We grew in a very, I'm trying to find the right word. We grew in the way that it happened, for lack of a better way to describe it. I mean, as we were saying, creative people started by answering, the question, what do practicing artists need? So that's a community, that's people to share skills with, to collaborate with. And so as we reached out to more and more people reached back to us. And so the community started growing really on its own. And it's, particularly, in the Facebook group, it has its own momentum. There is a fair amount of work behind it that Sara and I do to keep it focused and streamlined and related to the creative community, but it really functions very much on its own. And it's been so exciting to see more and more people figure out that platform is available, right. How to use it. We see, wonderful things happening, from people getting hired for jobs to forming great friendships, professional collaborations, even getting questions answered. Where do I find this particular material? Does anyone have, photography equipment that they can rent me? I mean, all sorts of things. And I would say these are the more kind of everyday things. And then we'll find things that we never expected in the Facebook group as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, it's worked in ways that we never maybe expected, or we didn't set out to do. And the members themselves have used it in ways that they have felt it necessary. And that's been really rewarding to us. But going back to the very roots of it all, in the very beginning of it, when we started the group, we had 12 people, and it was mostly our friends and the people that we added to the group ourselves. And then from there, it's just kind of slowly gained this momentum and this progression. And at one point, we invited everybody to come and have a glass of wine with us at my studio, and we had a really good turnout that first time, and it just kind of kept going from there, and word of mouth and people talking to each other about it. And it's been 10 years, but it's definitely growing every day. So we're very happy about that.
So the contemporary scene when you started 10 years ago and the contemporary scene now in Florence, what have been the shifts? What have been the changes?
I think there have been a lot of changes, especially in the Old Tradno, which we know, of course, is considered artisans' quarters of Florence. And I remember getting here when I was a student here. The Old Tradno was still very much about the traditional artisans, which we always want to make sure to clarify that we love them and we think that they're incredibly important to the city and the history of Florence. But there was a time period there where we started to see less and less of them. In the Old Tradno, we started to see a lot of those old bodegas closing. And now what's happening is those bodegas are opening up again, but they're opening up with new contemporary work, artisans that are maybe using a lot of the same techniques that the traditional artisans were, but they're using those techniques in new, very interesting, innovative ways. So that concept of the artisan community is still here. It's just changing. It's a new, shall we say, a new renaissance happening amongst them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go on, absolutely.
Oh, sorry, I didn't jump in there. But I can say from my own sort of personal standpoint, what I've over these past 10 years working with the creative community in the way that we do. I've started to see it in a completely different way. And I think that's in part because of, as Sara was saying, things have concretely been changing, and that's been really exciting to see. But I see a shift happening in myself, but in others as well, about kind of a curiosity and an interest in finding out and discovering what new things are going on. And something that our work has caused me to be bolder in doing, and hopefully inspired through creative people, others as well, is to not be afraid to just go see what's out there. Go knock on one of those workshop windows and just peek your head in, and things that I maybe wouldn't have thought to do 10 years ago, 15 years ago, either because I didn't think I was allowed to, or I didn't know if it was the right thing to do, or am I bothering someone? But I see this kind of curiosity opening up more and more as some of these workshops are reopening or shifting to incorporate the traditional techniques in more forward-thinking design. So it's an exciting time in Florence.
Yeah,
absolutely. And speaking of exciting things and knocking on doors, your app. What can you tell me about your app?
What can we tell you about the app? Well, first thing is that we are beyond excited that it is up and running and launched and ready to download in both App Store and Google Play Store. But basically, the concept behind the app was that we had done a paper map a few years ago, which indicated some of these studios, bodegas of the artisans and designers. But we really, we noticed that there was a lot of changing that was going on with that. So we wanted to put it in a digital format, especially because most people are looking at their phones for directions to get from one place to the other anyway. So we've put that right in the app for you. So now you can open up the app, you can see an icon of where each bodega is located. You can tap on that. You can go to an individual profile of each person. You can scroll through some photos, look at their Instagram, look at their Facebook, and then you can map your route from wherever you are in the city to that particular bodega. Or you can also see what's around you. So if you open up the map in Piazza Santo Spirito, for example, it's going to show you all the different bodegas that are around you. You'll see your little blue dot, and you can just walk around, venture around, and walk in and visit the artisans. So we wanted to put everything in one place. I had a store in Via dello Sperone for a few years, and I was constantly being asked by tourists, by visitors of the city, where to find the artisans. Where do they go? Where are they located? And as we know, most of them are in the back side streets, and they're not necessarily obvious. So that's really where the concept came from. That's where it all started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was the app took a very interesting shift in the course of these past 6 months at this point. What we noticed right at the beginning of the pandemic and the lockdown here in the city was that immediately people were reaching out to us in really, moving ways, asking how they could support the creative community, how they could support the artisans from afar, and even here in the city, people living locally. And we hadn't originally thought in the app to have an online shopping option, but we found that there was so much interest, and obviously the future that we were looking towards made it clear that for as many people to access these artisans as possible, we have to think about ways that they could be accessing the artisans virtually. So where our original thinking came from a paper map that, as Sara was saying, that helped you navigate the city and arrive on the doorstep of an artisan workshop, how can we create that same experience or give you that same access through the app? So there is a way that users can connect, can still search for what they're looking for by keyword or by product, by category, and connect directly to that artisan's online shop. Also contact them via email, but reach out in that way. So it was an interesting pivot for us because all of our work up until then had been really about how do we involve the people here in the city, whether that's people who live here locally, people who are just passing through, the student population, people from other places in Italy and other places in the world. directing them in the city. And now we're looking at it, at creative people in a much broader way and thinking of our reach, in the virtual world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just quickly add to that it's a way for visitors and people who are not able to come to Florence right now to feel like they're part of the artisan community here, and get to know these artisans and really understand what today's Florence is all about, and what's really happening on the ground here. So we hope that people, no matter wherever they are, will feel inclined to download and check it out.
Absolutely. We had a meeting, just I'll throw this in, we had a meeting with the designers and the artisans in the app last night, actually. And at a certain point, Sara asked, is there anyone here in this room of 20 artisans, is there anyone here in this room who doesn't want to answer questions about their work, who doesn't want to welcome someone into the workshop, who, doesn't want to be disturbed by someone coming in? Everyone said, absolutely not. We love being interrupted. We love answering your questions. And we're so inspired by the ideas that come out when someone just stops by, knocking on the door, asking questions. We thrive on that. So
absolutely.
And I'm sure to get the adjectives thrown around, beautiful or elegant or sophisticated or wonderful helps, to keep going. I can imagine when you're working in a career that can be solitary, it might be hard. I mean, in any kind of creative field, we may all kind of suffer times kind of thinking, am I supposed to be doing it? Is this, going well? I'm sure the feedback from passersby is needed.
It's inspiring to hear what other people's reactions are to our work, or maybe they ask us to do something that we hadn't thought of, or an addition to a piece, or making a change that's that's simple but is gives us a different way of thinking about our work. So it's essential, and it's incredibly important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Anna. Absolutely. No.
I'm interrupting you, Jane. I'm so sorry. I was just going to add that, we understand that thinking about buying an artisan product is something that isn't part of everyone's everyday buying habits, right? And one of the aims with this app is to get people into these artisan spaces, get people to look at the work behind the product, to realize, of course, how much work is happening in the creation of these beautiful pieces of jewelry, objects of home decor, fashion, shoes, bags, whatever that may be. But also to realize that what's exciting about buying an artisan product that is being made in front of you is that you have a say in it. You have a voice, right? All of a sudden, you can say, oh, actually, do you have that maybe in a different color? Or can I get my initials on that? Or can you make this in my size? And it's a way of thinking about the things that we own differently, which I think has been in many of our thoughts in the past few months, for sure.
Absolutely. I think looking around our homes at every object, every item, thinking, do I need this in my life? Is it the best it could be? I mean, we've all been staring at our things, essentially. I've certainly done a lot of looking around, so I think it's right to look at more sustainable options too, I guess. These are purchases you invest in and that reflect your character too. As you said, if you have that input, you kind of look at that's my favorite color, and that's exactly how I like my bag or whatever else it is. So I think it is special, and to buy it in a city as special as Florence too, I think, and to support the work you do is all something with more meaning. And it's wonderful that you give this platform to those people who are working at this and seeing the importance of giving them a platform. There is one question that has come in that I reckon is important to have a look at, really, is that Sheila has said, all of your members native speakers of English, and how many different nationalities are represented?
How many? We We don't know, but many. Um, I would venture to say that there's probably just about every nationality that you could imagine. I think that the world comes to Florence, and they all come to Florence for very different reasons. And many of us stay here for many different reasons. And many of them have become part of Creative People in Florence, have become active members in our group. So an exact number, I really don't know, but definitely not all native English speakers. Our meeting last night was conducted in Italian because the majority of the people that were there were native Italian speakers. And in the app, I would say that right now at this moment, which we do hope will grow, but I would say we have probably about half and half native Italian speakers, and then the other half an international community coming from places like Scotland, coming from Holland, Australia. I'm sure I'm forgetting others, but there are
many places.
Spanish speakers. We have a very diverse community. Absolutely.
Another project you were working on during lockdown, which I personally was pleased to see, were all your articles that came out that were so helpful to anyone in many fields, really. It wasn't specific to contemporary artists. So could you tell us a little bit about those articles and the website and the work that has been done there recently as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it all kind of comes back to Creative People in Florence began because it was what we needed as artists ourselves. And these articles that we wrote are a series that we also needed. So we reached out to our community, and we reached out to people who are experts, who are professional photographers, and we asked them the best ways to take photographs of your work, because we know everybody is really looking to sell their products online right now. So it's incredibly important that they have great photographs. So we asked 2 photographers that have been working with us for a really long time to give us their tips and share those with the community. We asked another artisan who has been working both retail and wholesale how to price your work properly. What are the things you need to look at? How do you determine what your product should cost? And she broke it all down for us and gave us all the details on how to do that. Also, to just feel okay about selling your product right now, because we noticed a lot of people almost felt like we know that things are very difficult for a lot of people right now. So maybe they didn't feel comfortable trying to sell something. So there was an article involved about how to feel okay with that, and that it is okay that you're selling your product, and it is okay to ask for money for what you do. Another who helped us with marketing, of course, Georgette, Girl in Florence, an amazing source, and has been part of our community. So thank you, Georgette. Very, very beginning. And is always so generous and gracious, and helped us with an article, as well as Tracy Russo as well. Just giving us tips, marketing, how to photograph yourself, how to feel comfortable, showing yourself as part of your brand and your work. And because many of us, of course, we don't think of ourselves. We think of the product, and we take the photos of the product and us working, but never of our own faces. So we know how important that is to include.
Yeah, I'll just add that this series of articles, which are still up on the Creative People website, so please go access them if they can be useful to you, really came out of the question back in March and April, where we all saw the world really radically changing. Came out of the question, what can we do right now to push our creative practice, our small business forward, right? What can we actively be doing? I can speak for myself, where I found it very hard initially to just get anything done related to my own art practice. And so the idea behind these articles was also to encourage people to keep moving forward, right? One of the articles that we put out about photographing your work gave some really clear tips. How do you develop your online portfolio using an iPhone and the lights you have around your house? right? That's something that we could do. How can you, as Sara was saying, clean up your online profile, do a new headshot, things that maybe we don't necessarily think about or we ignore or don't want to dedicate the time to. These articles were also aimed at keeping us moving, right? Giving very concrete tips about how can I improve my social media presence? How can I do real things now that help me grow as an artist?
And social media presence and digital presence now more vital than ever. Certainly. We've all kind of had to think about really is, I mean, even using Skype again for the first time in years, looking at usernames. There's all these things that you just, it's endless really. So I think to have some guidance around navigating that has been hugely helpful for so many people. To shift gears slightly, I'm intrigued to find out what has been the best moment of Creative People in Florence for you both.
I really think that honestly, the release of the app for me has been really one of our biggest accomplishments since the very beginning. But there are so many throughout the years, and there's been a lot of small goals that have been accomplished. And we also love seeing when somebody else, when other people benefit or find something that they didn't expect from the community. But I really think that this app has been. It's been a lot of work. It's been a long time. It's been in the process for a long time. So it's very, very exciting when it was launched. Yeah. Anna.
Yeah, I will second what you said, Sara. We are so thrilled about this app, and we invite all of you to go download it and check it out and send us your feedback on it. But I think also, as Sara was saying, we will sometimes just hear an offhand comment from someone in one of our events or meetings that, oh yeah, by the way, I found, I got hired for a job through Creative People in Florence, or I found a new studio thanks to Creative People in Florence. I found a great collaborator for a project. We don't know what's happening in the group, right? Since the group exists as a cultural association here in Florence, it exists as a Facebook group, it exists as an Instagram profile. And so we don't know how people are using the group all the time. So there's such exciting moments when, we just get wind of somebody using the group and making it work for them. And that's really what we've always wanted it to do. And it's so rewarding.
And when the artisans come back to us and they tell us that what we've done has helped them, and even the meeting last night and having everybody in one place and seeing how much it means to them to have something like this and to be part of the community. I mean, that's incredibly, incredibly rewarding for us.
It's certainly wonderful and inspiring to hear you both speak about this and to see such energy behind promoting other people also, which is very generous of your time too, I guess. I mean, you list your website, the articles, the blog, the Facebook, and yet you have your own independent careers too. So I'm sure it must be hard at times to juggle all of this.
Certainly, it can be hard to juggle everything, but what we really strongly believe is that the more that we support each other within the creative community, the better it is for all of us. We all benefit from a stronger community of artists. And that doesn't, you don't necessarily see it every single day, but as those of you working, those of us in the community get stronger and build their studios and build their network, we all benefit from that. And so, yes, Sara and I do have our own art practices, but they have grown. I can speak for myself, but I also know for Sara as well, and she'll confirm this, that our practices have grown thanks to Creative People in Florence. So they really are tied together.
And I'll just add to that there's a perfect example of this that happened in the last couple of days, that I've started to experiment with a new material that I'm not incredibly familiar with. But there are many experts here in Florence and in our group who are experts in this material. And I made a simple Instagram post mentioning that I was starting to experiment with it. And so many of them have just reached out to me and said, hey, if you need help, if you need any tips or pointers, I'm happy to help you. Come talk to me. Come to my studio and we'll hang out for the day, and we'll experiment with this material together. So I mean, those kinds of things have always been part of what our end goal is with all of this too. So yeah.
I wonder, is that something particularly possible in Florence as a city, this sharing? And it is such a hub of creativity and the tradition, etc. But it just seems that there's a real sense of collaboration fostered in this city. Do you think that's particular to Florence?
Well, I don't know, but it reminds me of something that we recently heard from an artisan that we work with, Erin Chula, who we were talking to for a video project, an upcoming video project or artisan interviews. And she was talking about the intimacy of the city and how Florence has an intimacy that to her is different than other cities. And she was describing that partly that comes from the size, right? Florence physically is small. It's compact, it's dense, but it's in a small area. And that in parallel with what we were talking about earlier, that Florence is a kind of hub for the creative community, sort of globally, right? That people are passing through Florence all the time, bringing in new ideas into this very compact space. We joke about Florence sort of being the size of a shoebox. You'll always run into somebody, whether you wanted to or no, you meant to or not. You will always run into people and see them again. And for the creative community, this is really important, right? Because it facilitates contact, friendships, connections, running into people. Like how many wonderful things have happened just by a spontaneous chat over a coffee. So I don't know about other cities because I've been in Florence really for my whole adult life, but there certainly is something special about it and something that encourages this type of creative collaboration.
And I would say that for creative people in Florence, since the very, very beginning, that has been those have always been the roots and the foundation of creative people in Florence. Is collaboration, is helping each other, supporting each other. So we've kind of, I don't want to say we've forced that, because people have voluntarily and willingly, of course, come into that, and they want to be part of that, and they want to share and help. But that's sort of been the criteria of creative people in Florence. So when somebody comes in and becomes a member and becomes, part of the group, that kind of goes without saying that it's about helping each other. It's about collaborating. So, yeah, and so far so good. I think everyone's getting quite a bit out of it. Yeah.
And on that note, then, what's next? You've come this far. Where would you like to go next with creative people in Florence?
So, one of the great things about creative people in Florence is that we have always let the group tell us what it needs. We've always listened to sort of what people are struggling with, or what people need help with, or even what great ideas, wonderful ideas people have. A lot of times people come to us with ideas for collaborations or projects or things that they want to do. So we kind of let that guide us. Of course, we always have a little something up our sleeves. So we are always thinking about what we can do next. But we do have another project going on, which I'll actually let Anna talk about more specifically. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So we have a really fun collaboration going on, which happened just in the way that Sara said. One of our members approached us, Tiana Stankovic, who is the fashion designer behind the brand TK, who had just recently opened up a new atelier over in Via San Zanobi, so the San Lorenzo neighborhood. And she asked if we would be interested in collaborating on a series of exhibitions in her atelier, inviting artisans and designers from the community to come in and experiment with their materials. So it's not simply, let's say, inviting an artisan in to do a kind of pop-up shop or temporary shop in her space. It's much more than that, because we invite the designer to take the materials that they use, the concepts and the techniques that they work with, and transform them into a site-specific installation. And so we've had, let me think, 3 or 4 exhibitions already in this series. We have another photography show coming up that opens on the 16th of October. So you can find all that information on our website. And that series will continue through into next year. And again, that's just something that one of our members approached us, and we share the same goals about promoting the artisan community, and so that's really exciting. We also, as I hinted at, we have a video coming out soon-ish, let's say, that with interviews with some of the artisans that we work with, and again, that happened through the extreme generosity of one of our members, a photographer and videographer, Olga Makarova, who is extremely talented, approached us about whether we thought it would be a good idea to make some videos about the artisan community. And of course, we immediately said, sounds great, let's do it, we're in. And then, yes, we have some other things in the works that we're not quite ready to talk about yet, but some events coming up over the next couple of months, and some new collaborations.
Very much looking forward to hearing on this. You've given a great teaser there. Very much looking forward to seeing what's next for creative people of Florence, and also the app, which obviously highly recommend everyone to download, even just from an awareness point of view. It's fantastic to just come across these names which you may not otherwise. And I think we discussed when we met up before that how in Florence you can wander down the street, but parallel to you there's the atelier of your dreams that you may have missed. So I think to have this map and to realize you're walking always close to something that will be of interest to you, and to seek them out, and to, as you said, knock on the doors and have a look, and to get to know the artisans too, I think is something really to be excited about, and something that we can explore more of now that we're looking at Florence through new eyes maybe. And definitely look, creative people of Florence has been very much part of this new renaissance coming out, as you mentioned. So it's the website. Everyone should go to the website and see what you're about. And
and again, I just want to stress, as we've said, that don't be shy about reaching out to us, but also check out the Facebook group if you use Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram account is also a nice little window into the creative community here. We alternate weeks, so some weeks Sara and I are behind the scenes, but every other week we pass our account to a member of the creative community who just uses the account as if it were their own, and shares the work that they're doing, works in progress. So we have huge variety of work on our Instagram profile. But also through the app, also through our website. Don't be shy about contacting the artisans. Again, as I mentioned, the people that we work with thrive on the contact with just the curious observer. These spaces are open to you. They are accessible to you, and there's no reason to hesitate.
Excellent.
When I was working when I had the store in Via dello Sprone, oftentimes I would see people kind of poking their head in or looking through the glass, trying to see. And then would walk away. And, I always tried to, get up. No, it's okay. Come on in. So, as Anna said, absolutely go in. You're not disturbing us. Absolutely not.
I may have been guilty of that myself in the past. You do, oh, that's interesting, and then you keep walking, even your head is telling you, no, I want to see that.
No, we are guilty of it as well. That's why we do the same. So we're reminding ourselves as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
I think we'll finish there. It's been wonderful to talk to you both and to hear about your projects. And thank you also to everyone who's joined in. It seems like contemporary culture is in good hands. So
we'll take a vote of confidence.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you both so much. And anyone who's looking to join a TF Together session can see the full lineup on the link below as well. Next week we will have a speaker on Monday, and then you'll find the rest of the lineup here. So thanks again, and looking forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.